We continue our focus on the Zimbabwean elections. That country's elections commission said late on Saturday that incumbent President Emmerson Mnangagwa had won this week's presidential election with roughly 53% of the vote. Mnangagwa, who took over from longtime leader Robert Mugabe after a 2017 army coup, was widely expected to secure re-election for a second term, as analysts said the contest was heavily skewed in favour of ZANU-PF ruling party, which has been in power for more than 4 decades. We're now joined by Dr. Brian Sedze, the director of the Free Enterprise Initiative, to share his analysis of the results in these elections. Dr. Sedze, a very good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome.
Good morning. It's a pleasure for you having me.
Now that President Emmerson Mnangagwa has bounced back into the fold, are you at all surprised? I mean, in consideration of the fact that he enjoyed the advantage of incumbency, state power and access to resources?
It is hardly surprising for many. The road to the State House, the road to presidency, the road to parliament passes by a rural village in Zimbabwe. As long as the villagers vote for Emmerson Mnangagwa, he was going to be a president. And it is the majority. The benefit of being an incumbent is also a very critical factor, in the sense that in the rural areas, it was easier and better and not problematic for him to use all sorts of agents within the state apparatus to either win the hearts of the villagers or cow the villagers. And the resources were there. Thousands and thousands of campaign staff were in the rural areas on his behalf.
Now, when Emmerson Mnangagwa took over, after the ousting of former President Robert Mugabe, there was a bit of enthusiasm with his leadership and incumbency. But 5 years down the line, all that has faded. So what do you think happened in the last 5 years?
The challenge that we are having as a country is basically currency, inflation, jobs. It is quite critical for you to know that he has not delivered in that particular aspect. But you realize that that affects only the urban voter. The rural voter is more interested in seeds, is interested in fertilizer, in chickens, which Emmerson Mnangagwa was delivering in millions to the villagers. So to them, he was a relief. And to the urban voter, this is a very sad time because no jobs are likely to be created in the coming 5 years. And infrastructure is decaying, it is rotten. We hardly have water. We have got a plus that electricity is now available, but we don't know if it will go on after this plebiscite.
We've seen a contingent of election observers from the region and from the European Union crying foul and condemning the outcome of these elections, saying that there's been voter roll irregularities, some of the ballot boxes not making it into some of the polling station. And at what point will these election observers be listened to in terms of serving as a deterrent for any potential irregularities in elections, in particular in Zimbabwe?
I can say from 2000, when we had some sort of a decent multi-party democracy, as in when there was a better competitor in MDC, they're not worried about what foreign observer missions have to say. I've never seen them being interested or being worried about them. But let me just try and explain a few things to you, if you may. The challenges that we have in Zimbabwe are, one, legislative. The Electoral Act has got so many loopholes that either allows the incumbent to win or cow the villagers or suppress urban voters. Number two, we have got a very significant challenge when it comes to the alignment of the laws with the Constitution. From 2013 up to now, not so much work has been done. So the field is skewed, not only because of Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, but the laws are not permitting for a free and fair field for the incumbent versus the opposition.
Now, Dr. Sedze, when you say that most of the challenges and problems are mainly legislative, are you also talking about the Patriot Act, which was passed by the Senate, which sort of criminalizes injuring the sovereignty and national interest of Zimbabwe? And do you think such an act is a veiled attack to freedom of expression in Zimbabwe?
It depends from which angle you're looking at. But let me just correct you here. We do not have what we call a Patriotic Act. What we have as Zimbabwe is an amendment to the criminal code, which has added some lines on being patriotic, where a person is not allowed to engage a foreign government or foreign entity and so forth. Obviously, that harms the freedom of association of anybody with a foreign government or foreign entity. It also criminalizes that particular act, and it is a deterrent because the sentence is pretty close to treason.
All right, what are your predictions then and of what will happen going forward in Zimbabwe?
I'll take it from an economic perspective. Mm-hmm. Already the United States of America, as one senator has already said, they have got to review their relations with Zimbabwe. That impacts negatively on interest rate, sovereign risk, our rating, prospects of a currency. And from what I see, and the utterances of the now president during the elections season, is that we are going to go back again into another cycle where they are going to try and impose the Zimbabwe dollar as the sole currency. That will be the fourth time Zimbabweans are going to be robbed of their savings, and that will be more than 20 times Zimbabweans adopting a different currency since 2000. That will obviously harm pensions as well. It also harm people's desire to invest. I see the incumbent having to rely more on Iran, on Iraq, on Iran, Russia, and China, because relations with United States of America and the West will be soured more, and that basically means the looting of more mineral resources and agricultural land, because unlike most of other investors, our Eastern friends do not invest in infrastructure where they mine. They don't invest in good labor practices. They do not invest in developing local communities. They are not interested in corporate social responsibility, and so forth and so forth. So we are back again to the square where accountability and governance of our resources will be very murky, and it also means, in another aspect, the economy will be controlled by a few, like it is. It's nothing unusual, but in our circumstance, it is a small clique that benefits from these resources, and this clique is known and will continue to be known and be benefiting. And they do not create employment, which is a major issue for the urban voters.
All right, Dr. Sedze, great chatting to you. Thank you so much for sharing your analysis with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.